Hello, good afternoon. This is Mayor Stewart, and I'm calling the special meeting to order and state that Council Member Shoresman and Vice Mayor Marks will be absent today. I'll go ahead and lead the council in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are able and willing, please stand. Thank you so much. Do we have, as this meeting is a special meeting, if you have public comment, it is only for items listed on the agenda, which is one item. And if you are participating virtually, yes, this is a hybrid meeting going forward, and you can raise your hand, use the raise your hand feature to indicate you would like to speak. If you are joining by telephone, please *9 to raise your hand, and you will be notified and unmuted when it's your turn to speak. City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we'll go ahead and move forward, and Daisy Weiberg and Teresa McClish will be opening up.
Great, thank you very much, Mayor Stewart, members of the council. Thank you so much for arranging a special meeting for this item today. We were before you earlier this year in April for a home key application authorization request, and that site at that time turned out to be unavailable. And we have been working diligently with our partners at People's Self-Help Housing Corporation for a different site in the city. And we have just last week, we were able to bring before you this site at Cali Joaquin. The site, as it was just secured, is very close to the grant deadline of July 28th. And as such, I just want to alert everyone in this room that details, exact figures for every column that will be submitted in the grant application are still evolving. And but we are very, very pleased to be before you this afternoon with this potential very significant grant application. We are working diligently to make sure that it's a competitive grant application, as well as a very meaningful and sustainable project for the community over time. And with that, move on. So the recommendation before you this afternoon is to adopt a resolution that would authorize a joint application and participation in the Home Key program in conjunction with People's Self-Help Housing Corporation for a 50 to 75 unit permanent supported housing project located at 1433 Cali Joaquin in a total amount not to exceed $22 million. And to allocate $400,000 of the city's affordable housing funds to provide for a local match for the project, and to direct staff to work with People's Self-Help Housing Corporation to complete due diligence necessary for the application, authorize the city manager or the designee to execute the grant documents, and direct staff to return to City Council with a memorandum of agreement outlining partnership, service, program, and funding commitments prior to accepting Home Key program funds. As background, the California Home Key program is in round 3, and it has become a known and proven model to sustain and rapidly expand the inventory of housing for people experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. As I mentioned, city staff has worked with People's Self-Help Housing Corporation and several community partners to develop this Home Key grant application that will increase permanent supportive housing units, fulfilling a key task in the city's homelessness response strategic plan and supporting the county-wide plan to address homelessness. An overview of project partners is on the screen, and that includes the city, taking the co-lead as grant applicant with Peoples, and we're requesting $400,000 in affordable housing funds. The criteria to award those funds are included in your resolution. People Self-Housing Housing Corporation will be the co-applicant and project developer and supportive housing provider. The County of San Luis Obispo, the capital, will provide a combination of capital and operational support of $2.6 million to leverage additional home key funds, and I'll speak more about that in a little bit. The Ballyco Foundation is a private donor providing $800,000 in gap funding for the project. And the Housing Authority of San Luis Obispo committing project-based vouchers for the project. And again, I thank all of these partners because they have really proven themselves to be flexible and moved very quickly to assemble for this grant application. This home key project would be located at the Motel 6 North site at 1433 Calle Joaquin in San Luis Obispo. The motel was built in 1973 and went through a remodel in 2014, and when we rehabilitated and repurposed to house the 50 to 75 permanent supportive housing units managed by Peoples with supportive services on site. In conjunction with housing, a portion of the project would be offices for service providers. The site would be staffed with an on-site manager, licensed social worker, and case management support, and is well located with safe and convenient access to services. The project would include project improvements required by the physical needs assessment, required by the grant, and city requirements to convert the motel to residential use, and such as adding fire sprinklers and kitchen access. The numbers before you on the screen are our current numbers, and you can see the funding sources are primarily the state home key grant baseline funding, home key match. This is a formula, and it's being confirmed by the home key consultant. And again, the Ballyco Foundation coming in with gap funding, city affordable housing funds, and Wells Fargo Home Key Accelerator money that has recently been added. For the acquisition and rehabilitation costs, you can see the totals as assigned for purchase price, immediate needs, kind of phase one rehabilitation needs, and then home key funding requirements for operating reserve and contingency are matching our funding sources at $14,781,910. And I want to note that the County of San Luis Obispo committed funds for home key back in May when we were exploring the first two sites. We're on site 6, the first two sites, and that they're reviewing their commitment letter for the purposes of grant submittal. We're really pleased to be able to work with county staff on this. They've been very, very receptive and very supportive for this grant. The original intention for those funds were for operating, and we may be requesting those funds to be either used for operating or capital use. And again, this is just an evolving grant application, and we just want to make sure it's both competitive and feasible and sustainable going forward. And then finally, HASLO, again, with those project-based vouchers in outer years, will really increase the feasibility and competitiveness of the application. And I will note just now that we do have representatives from both People's Self-Help Housing Corporation and the Housing Authority of San Luis Obispo here this evening. So the intended population is on the screen here, and again, this is additional information for you, and this also is in a bit of flux, but this is in accordance with addressing the most need in the community and addressing how it would work best for the site. And so as envisioned, we would be converting units for 5 homeless family rooms, 20 studio apartments, 30 youth-based homeless or at risk of homeless, 20 units for the chronically homeless, and that would give us a total mix of 75 assisted home key units. And project timelines, if awarded, we would be submitting the application on July 28th. We would expect to receive any notice of award in October or November this fall, and this is intended for rapid rehousing. So we would be expected to ensure that we have 100% occupancy, all rehab, all occupancy accomplished by December 2024. And with that, the recommendation, again, is on the slide. I'd like to thank again the project partners involved, including the Valley Co Foundation for their generous donation, the work by People Self-Help Housing and Haslo, and the County of San Luis Obispo. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate how all of you here and the partners were able to do this so quickly. I feel like we're constantly looking at, with real estate, did it go through? Negotiations are always difficult. And as individuals trying to buy a house, it's always that question of, well, I put in my bid, I hope I get it, and you never really know. So I know that some people have commented to me of, will this be the same as another site from the county as far as the community engagement part? So can you share a little bit more about when community engagement would happen, since a lot of this has to happen very quickly?
Certainly, we're all hands on deck trying to get the application submitted, and certainly will be strategic about making sure we're transparent and open with our outreach for this particular project. Again, we don't expect award until fall, and that really would, be that green light for making sure we actually have a project going. And so with that expectation, I think we have some time to address, really comprehensive outreach strategy.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Pease.
Thank you so much, and I echo the gratitude to everyone and the partners. Just a couple questions. One is the description overall has been kind of this 50 to 75 units. It sounds like kind of landing on 75 at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, 75 is that outer maximum.
Yeah, terrific. And then I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about kind of that supportive housing component versus, People Self-Help has lots of housing and they have all kinds of programs. And I'm wondering if this is, if there's kind of a range toward some of their housing might just be permanent housing that's affordable and has after-school kind of tutoring. This one has social workers, et cetera. So I'm just wondering, is that kind of in the range of what they're usually providing, or is this going to be something a little bit of difference? Do they have a model for how this is working?
Yes, this is one of their areas of expertise. We're really pleased to have them be the provider here for this project in our community. And as for the specifics, I will defer to Mr. Targino of People Self-Help Housing because he can describe it more accurately. But it is a range of services. But for this Home Key grant, we're really it is very intentionally targeted for the unhoused and for homelessness prevention. And in that, the supportive services are directed for those folks living on the site.
Should I do a follow-up? Honorable Mayor, City Council Member Peace. Ken Triguero with People's Self-Help Housing. I'm going to just have to hold this, I think. So that's a great question, and just for a little bit of background, we do have some example properties that fit this. We've converted a couple motels in the city of Santa Barbara, city of Ventura, and this is something we do routinely in terms of serving this population. We have on staff over a dozen licensed clinical social workers, others professionally trained. This is a program that we offer free to any of our residents. We have helped over 700 households who were formerly experiencing homelessness, now stable and in a different place. I think we have a 98% success rate of keeping them stably housed. And that's been a period since about 2008, roughly, I would say. So that's the plan. And this would be a pretty intensively wraparound serviced program property. And so we would be ramping up some staffing to meet that demand, but we have an established plan, and we would extend that here. Hopefully that answers all those questions.
Spot on.
Okay,
Thank you so
thanks.
much.
Thank you, appreciate that. Councilmember Francis.
I have a follow-up for you. I appreciated the breakdown of the beds and who they're intended for, families, youth who are at risk, and all of those different categories. But I was wondering if there's going to be some degree of flexibility depending on what our population ends up actually needing once we put this into practice, and seeing who actually needs that facility.
Yeah, so it will be, recorded in the documentations and agreements. So we're going to need to stick to that plan probably. We'll be able to, though, as is fairly common with the agencies, demonstrate need. But we already are pretty certain, having talked to our partners, knowing what the demand is in the community. On the youth, for example, Five Cities Homeless Coalition, we're working on a project here in town at the Rigetti Ranch. Tiburon Place has a youth component, so we're starting to understand the numbers and the need. And so with our partners, I think we'll probably fill that demand. But if we don't find that that's the case for some reason, we will work with the state to have a modification in place.
Thank you for that explanation.
Okay.
Thank you, and I'm really excited to see the youth aspect to this, because I think the foster youth we've seen has been, housing has been a space that after 18, they don't have somewhere to go, so thank you. The physical needs assessment that's required by the grant, so obviously if there were challenges that were beyond what we could handle with this property from the physical needs assessment, would that allow us to say, sorry, thank you for the money, I guess I'll have to give it back because we can't use that space? Or would that be that we had to ask for more money for construction, or what does that look like?
I may need Ken to just, assist, but, there's a standard agreement that's needed for the grant, and that everything is very outlined in that standard agreement. So I certainly will have an opportunity to assess everything again if we're awarded, and prior to accepting that award, and be able to ensure that there's provisions that at that time the project, something unforeseen happens, that we'll be able to address that certainly. But as of right now, we are before you because we feel we have a very competitive application prospect.
I would agree. If I need to add anything, I don't think I do, but there are other sources out there that we would be looking at. We even have our own housing trust fund here locally that can perhaps provide a bridge kind of financing. There are things to be able to do along the way. We're going to focus on the requirements of the standard agreement from HCD that say we need to occupy by this time. That means we'll want to do those most basic things. I think it's pretty livable right now. We're going to be looking at the property tomorrow morning, and we'll know more each day as we go toward the application. But fairly confident that we'll be able to get money that we need, and we'll have a short-term plan and a long-term plan to go after sources that we really want to take care of additional needs and wish list after that.
Great, thank you so much. I assumed, I just wanted to make sure we're asking the questions now versus later. Well, any other questions? Okay, and no public comment still? All right, we'll move forward. I just want to say thank you for making this happen again. We have been asking to constantly look at so many different options to make housing happen, and especially for people who, financially are in a place where they're at risk or just are already unhoused. So thank you very much. I'm in favor of this recommendation. I'll just say that. I think that, can you put that chart up again, please? I think seeing this breakout of who would be in which place, I think is also really helpful, because the constant need I'm hearing is about studios, and then I've heard other locations that are looking to help house families, but there's still some opportunities for families here too, so I think that's really great. So I will pass it on to Councilmember Pease.
Yes, I am also super supportive, not surprisingly. I'm thrilled with the partnerships and just the obviously the state recognition of both the urgency and the need, but having the funding behind it and what it takes to make this happen. So to bring all that together is really exciting and constructive to, as you say, to meet so many of these goals. So I'm happy to move the recommendations as made by staff.
Councilmember Francis.
I am beyond excited to be here tonight, just especially after watching the previous 5 properties come and go and the heartbreak of that. And to be here tonight and to have this many units and all of these different community partners coming together is incredibly exciting. And again, thank you to you all for being here this evening and for putting this together at the 11th hour. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to second when the moment is right.
Wonderful. I think let's go ahead and have that as a move in a second and call roll call.
Councilmember Pease?
Yes.
Councilmember Francis?
Yes.
Mayor Stewart?
Yes, and the motion passes 3-0 with, of course, 2 absent. Thank you again, truly. And we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and we will see you all at the next regular meeting, which will be, of course, not of course, it'll be Monday, August 14th for another special closed session meeting. So we'll see you all then. Thank you so much.